Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you about Noom. Has Noom helped you? I believe it has.
Oh, that's got an app. You can do tracking. It's terrific.
It does. Noom builds personal plans that can meet individual needs. That's the thing. Takes into account any dietary restrictions, medical issues, other personal needs. That helps build a plan that works for you. And yes, so I know that you've had your own personalized program here that you've been working on. And
it's weight loss This is weight loss results that last. They stick around because you get yourself into a lifestyle change. That's what matters.
That's mainly it. You can't just say, I'm going to cut that out for a month and then go back to it. That's not what it is. So I'm glad it's helping you. That's great. And it really does. I like the psychology and biology-based approach here. Yeah. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain, but it also takes into account your unique biological factors, Jimmy. All of your multitude flora and fauna that goes on inside of you there.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com, Noom.com here, based on 3.5-year study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information. Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about Rocket Money. It's the start of a new year. It's the perfect time to get organized, set your goals, prioritize what matters most. And for me, top priority is getting myself together here. Financial wellness, doing that, which that feels important, just feels like adult stuff that you have to do. And thanks to Rocket Money, my goals feel achievable now. They show me all my subscriptions in one place, help me easily cancel ones I forgot that I've been paying for, which happened to me, absolutely happened to me. For years, I was paying for something. I was like, what is going on here? Rocket Money found it and saved me lots of money since then, because it's been a while. So they did a great job here. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder today. That's rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder. rocketmoney.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Welch's knows some things make zero sense, like why the algorithm knows your music tastes better than you do. But zero sugar and full flavor? We made that make sense with new Welch's Zero Sugar. All that passion fruit or tropical punch goodness and none of the sugar. You gotta sip it to get it. New Welch's Zero Sugar. Let's fruit stuff up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Small Town Murder Express.
Yeah, and choo-choo.
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmy Wisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us all aboard the murder train, pulling away from the station. We have a very weird episode for you today.
Okay.
Just a strange one. Can't wait to get into it. Before we do, very quickly, shutupandgivememurder.com is where you get tickets for all your live shows. If you would like to come to a live show, get your tickets now. I'm telling you right now, the tickets... May is the next batch of shows coming up, which is Chicago and St. Louis. Right. St. Louis is just about sold out. Chicago's getting there. Grand Rapids is just about sold out. Yeah. I think Madison's sold out. I'm pretty sure that Portland is sold out. Yeah. San Diego is sold out. I mean, it's really, they're moving. Really. Yeah. If you want tickets, get them right goddamn now and get in there and do that. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Also, Patreon is what you want. Patreon.com/CrimeInSports is where you get all the bonus material.
Absolutely.
And we have so much bonus material for you. Anybody $5 a month or above, you are going to get all of it, including As soon as you subscribe, hundreds of back episodes you've never heard before, or bonus stuff, and then new ones every other week, including this week. Yeah. This week for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about disasters of all kinds. We did some industrial disasters, some hot air balloon disasters. Yeah. It's just like a disaster grab bag we're going to talk about
love when it goes bad.
It's crazy. Yeah, especially when it's like old-timey, like the Molasses River that happened in Boston. That was wild.
And hot air balloons, how do you expect that to go right?
It doesn't. It seems like it would be a miracle every time it lands, I would imagine. Oh, my God, how'd that happen? Then for Small Town Murder, since we always debunk everything, we're going to talk about psychics that actually succeeded in what they were trying to do, find bodies and do things like that. Very interesting stuff there. We'll get into all that and more. Patreon.com/CrimeInSports. That said, I think it's time to get into this. I think it's time, everybody, to sit back. Let's all clear the lungs here. Arms to the sky. Let's all shout. Shut up and give me murder. Let's do this, everybody.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go on a trip, shall we?
Let's have to.
We are going to Connecticut this week here. Westport, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Westport is in southwestern Connecticut. It's
the Westport, the one by the land.
Well, it's down on the Long Island Sound down there.
Oh, is it?
It's on the water, yeah.
So it is a port, yeah.
It's a port, yeah. It's Westport, it's southwestern Connecticut by the Long Island Sound. It's basically a suburb of New York City, though.
Oh, all right.
Anything within 2-hour driving distance is a suburb of the city, and this is about an hour and a half, depending on traffic, to New York City from here. So definitely a burb. It's about an hour and a half in the other direction to Ellington, Connecticut, which was our last Connecticut episode, Detective Fitbit. Right. I remember that was wild. That was interesting. A whole case solved by a Fitbit. That's crazy shit. Then this is in Fairfield County. Population in this town, 27,168. So a nice sized town, and it's remained that size for years and years and years. They're not building anything more. It's nice, a lot of larger properties on wooded lots and shit like that. This is a very leafy suburb. The median household income here, buckle up, $236,892. That's median.
My God.
Median is almost $250,000 a year. Median home cost here, you better be making $250,000 a year, because the median home cost is $1,473,500.
Almost 1.5.
That's all I can say to that.
Good for you guys.
Holy
That's great.
shit. The nickname, they don't have a motto, but they have a nickname of this town, which is capital W, little E, capital P, little O. Weepo, which is, they're not po at O. At O. They're not par in the slightest, these fucking people. I get it's Westport. But no, it's not.
Absolutely
Don't do that, because that's what it sounds like. A little bit of history of this town here. Officially incorporated in 1835. They got lands from Fairfield, Weston, and Norwalk and just made a town out of it here. I guess there was a guy named Daniel Nash led 130 people to petition the town of Fairfield for Westport's incorporation. And they wanted to assist their seaport's economic viability that was being undermined by neighboring towns' seaports. It's like, you have a seaport, you're concerned with that, but we're concerned with our seaport, so let us deal with this shit. So for several decades after that, it was a big agricultural community. It was the leading onion growing center in the United States. Gross. Which I had no idea. You can smell it in fucking Times Square. You can smell the onions. That's crazy. And it became a shipping center, in part to transport the onions.
Right.
That's how it worked. Once the collapse of the onion industry happened, then mills and factories replaced that, and now it's just replaced with rich people. So that's it. Starting about 1910, this is when people in New York City discovered a nice little leafy burb about an hour and a half away. And this is when artists and musicians started moving here.
Oh.
This became an artsy town. F. Scott Fitzgerald moved here.
Yeah, that guy did some shit.
Yep, because he didn't want to deal with all the business shit in New York. So
is
he
that
just
Star Spangled Banner guy?
Moving there. No. F. Scott Fitzgerald is not these. No.
Is he not a composer?
He's a writer. He's an author. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby.
I know who
he's the Great Gatsby.
Say that. Yeah.
Which would make sense. Seeing the light across the thing, you're on a sound. It all makes sense now. So that was before he wrote that, too. He moved
Francis
there.
Scott Key. That's
Francis
the guy.
Scott Key. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an F. Scott. You got it.
I'm on board.
You got that shit. It got a reputation as an arts center, and people were calling it a creative heaven at that point.
All right.
And then in the 20th century, there's industrialization and all this in New York, and all this industrialization everywhere else made fashionable people come here.
Hell yeah.
And it became Westport very fashionable. More writers and artists came. Farmers started
stuff. Yeah.
Farmers were selling off their land for housing developments and shit like that. And it changed from farmers to the suburbs at that point.
Wow.
Then famous people started moving here. In 1960, Paul Newman moved in and lived there till he died. Lived there till I'm sure he had 5 houses, but he lived there
being handsome. Hell yeah.
Just being handsome till he's dead. And his wife, Joanne Woodward, the other actress, she still lived there after he died even. So stayed there, liked it. Here's reviews of this town. Got a couple of reviews here. 5 stars. I appreciate the location of the town and what the town has to offer. It's an hour from New York City, making the city very accessible, and contains a beach, a nice downtown area, a public pool, the public sports courts and fields. The high school is very intense, but contains amazing sports, theater, and music facilities and programs. Yeah, these are rich kids.
Smart kids, yeah.
The parents are monitoring. They're not necessarily smart, but rich.
Yeah,
rich.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
All rich
It's
people
a good
think
school. Yeah.
their kids will be smart no matter if they're dumb or not. That's what rich people think.
We can buy them being smart.
Yeah. I am rich enough that kid is not dumb. It's weird. Very fucking weird here. Here's 3 stars.
Yeah.
Beautiful town and relatively nice people. In my opinion, people can be spoiled, arrogant, and extremely out of touch.
Well, they're called rich people.
They're called rich people that live in this. Yeah, this is not the real world.
Right.
And then finally, 1 star, a very, all caps, nasty town.
Oh.
Nasty. It's
They
run.
talk shit about you.
Oh, she's got this is a whole thing here. It's run by an insider's clique of real estate people, hedge fund people, showbiz types. And if you're not a, quote, insider type, you're deemed a sub-citizen.
Yeah.
So if you're not rich, that's how rich works.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're not wealthy, these people don't like you.
They don't
really?
care. Yeah.
Is that
They're
right?
Like, are you here to trim my hedges? That's what they think at that point. The police are very nasty, basically thugs for the real estate people. And if you complain to town hall about them, what does town hall do? They, quote, refer your complaint back to the police. Yeah. They are nasty people, the whole lot of them. The realtors are also extremely nasty, and they engage in serious blacklisting practices.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small town where you're not
it's a
rich.
Small town of rich people that don't want anybody that's not rich there because you bring down the property value, you poor fuck.
That's why we don't live there.
Yeah.
So things to do here, Westtoberfest.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a craft beer and fall festival. Let's see here. Promising a day of craft beer delights, live music, community camaraderie in the heart of downtown Westport. Beer enthusiasts can indulge in a diverse selection of over 50 local and regional beers, from crisp lagers and bold IPAs to rich stouts and refreshing non-alcoholic drinks. Oh, the festival promise.
Rich douche beer.
Rich douche beer, rich IPA.
Golly,
yeah. Tears of the Poor is what one is called.
Yeah.
It's great. Tears of the Poor Children.
2 pennies.
Holy shit. The festival promises more than fantastic brews. It will also feature delicious food and lively music. Mm-hmm. Local culinary favorites will serve mouth-watering treats to satisfy any appetite, and the musical performances will be by one band called, quote, One Bad Oyster.
What? Why? Why?
Will make you shit yourself for 3 days.
How do you have a rich community and just have one shit band? You've probably priced out the riffraff.
Dude, you should see their logo is a cartoon oyster shell open with a looks like a lump of gray, an oyster, like angry, like it's got teeth and it's like, and it's got a bomb sitting next to it with like a cartoon bomb with like a a fucking
fuse
thing coming off, fuse lit. Yeah, that's because they're one bad oyster.
Okay. It's an explosive oyster.
Wow. And there'll also be a Stein holding contest, a pumpkin chunkin' event hosted by CBS News weather anchor and Westport resident Lonnie Quinn.
Wow.
Oh, well then. There's Lonnie Quinn. By the way, One Bad Oyster, here's how they describe them. One Bad Oyster is not your average band. They're an energetic and lively ska surf band hailing from the vibrant Fairfield County in Connecticut. Oof, that sounds
no thanks.
rough. But they say they've been rocking the tri-state New England venues with their infectious beats and catchy tunes. Holy shit. Let's talk about a murder. I got to get to the murder.
Before I have to murder them.
Before I have to talk more about One Bad Oyster. Now, we're going to go back in time farther than, I think we've done one case older than this, maybe two. We normally don't go back in time this far, but this is such a fucking harrowing tale that I read it and I'm like, how do we not tell this story? Just because it's like a story of, it's one of those narratives where it's like, then this happens, then this happens. It's not like, this is what happened. It's you're going to go through it and it's white knuckle and it's like, it's a story of death and survival and horrifying shit. It's wild. We'll get into it. Let's go here. 1962.
Yeah.
63 years ago. Way farther back than we usually go here. So let's talk about some people. Pierre and Isabel Sillan. Sillan. Okay. If his name's Pierre, I'm going Sillan because it's Pierre. Pierre and his wife Isabel. She's 50 years old. He's a little bit older than that. They have some kids as well. They have 3 kids. They have Paul, who is 24. The son, he's the oldest. He is in the Army stationed in Germany by now in 62. Pierre Jr., again, somebody named the Junior the second kid. So weird. Must have had a commitment to name something after somebody's dad or some shit before that.
Yeah, probably.
So Pierre Jr. is 20, and he's away at college. So neither of the boys are in the house at this point. They're both out of the house doing their own thing. They have one child at home, and that is Gail, their daughter, Gail, not Gale. She's 14 years old.
Oh.
So they live in a fucking incredible mansion, these people.
Really?
It's a 3-story home in a wooded area at 31 Stony Brook Road, and I'll give you the stats on it later, but I'm going to show you a picture of this fucking house.
What the fucking
shit?
It
looks like an apartment complex.
Yeah,
it is
probably 4 stories. There's 3 above ground.
3 above ground. It's fucking...
Look at that great room. It's got 3 Arcadia doors.
It's insanity, dude. That's the garage. I don't even know what to say about this fucking place. God. It looks like 4 houses, like 4 big houses they crammed into one house. It is a 5-bedroom, 8-bath, 6,503 square foot house.
I can't believe there's only that many bedrooms. There should be 11.
It's bonkers. Dude, this house is huge. It's all rooms. You'd think there'd be more. It's on a 0.95 acre wooded lot backed up to woods. It's fucking incredible, this house.
Yeah.
These people are doing very well for themselves.
They're happy. They smile a lot.
They bought it a couple years earlier for $75,000, which was an exorbitant amount of money for a house back then. Absolutely, like, next level expensive. So they're doing very well for themselves here. So the exact date we're going to go to is November 12th, 1962. It is Veterans Day this day. It's a Monday. And it's very important that it's a Monday and Veterans Day because the kids are home from school this day. It's a holiday for a lot of people, not for Pierre. Right. Pierre is a textile designer.
Pierre is a very successful man. He does not take days off.
He doesn't get fucking federal holidays off. When you live in a 6,500 square foot house, you work when other people aren't, hopefully, unless you're an inherited asshole. So
I'm a veteran of the textile industry. I have to work.
So it's a holiday for the kids, though. So Pierre leaves for work at about 7 a.m. He's got to commute to New York City. So he leaves his wife and daughter in the house. They're both asleep. Like I said, the boys are one's at college, one's in Germany. He goes out the kitchen door, which God knows how many doors there are in this fucking house.
I mean, on the backside, it's got 7.
Oh, so many, which he closes, but he doesn't lock because it's 1962. This is a very good neighborhood. Yeah, so he doesn't even lock it. They don't even bother locking this giant house up. So he then gets on the train and goes to New York on the commuter train. Okay. Now, here comes what I'd like to call 13 hours of hell.
Oh?
Okay. I'll give you this is Gail, 14-year-old Gail. Quote, I awoke suddenly and thought my watch had stopped. I couldn't seem to figure out what time it was. I put on a red wardrobe over my flowered nightgown and went out into the second-floor hallway. I was going to check the time on a grandfather clock downstairs.
Okay.
No phone sitting next to her, nothing like that. Right. She's got to check that. She said, as I walked into the hallway, a man was standing there.
Uh-oh.
And not her dad or either of her brothers. He was a tall, light-skinned man. He had worked in our house as a handyman about 2 weeks ago. Okay. So she recognized him. So this is about 8:45 p.m. She gets up, starts down the hallway toward her parents' bedroom, also to go downstairs the same direction.
p.m.?
a.m., I'm sorry,
okay.
a.m.
All right.
She walked past an intersecting hallway, and that's when this man grabbed her by the neck and pulled her back into her bedroom.
Uh-oh.
Pushed her up against closes the bedroom door and pushes her up against the bedroom door that's closed.
Yeah.
He held her by the throat. 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Here comes the mom. Here comes Isabel. She knocks on the door saying, is everything all right? I heard, is everything all right? She couldn't answer from in there. She's getting choked.
Right.
Gail passes out.
Oh, that kind of heavy choke.
Choker. Yeah, he's choking her so she can't get noise out to alert her mother. So chokes her till she passes out.
Mm-hmm.
She hits the ground, passes out. Okay, this is now it could have been fainting, but it's probably choking, probably from the choking.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy who has come into this house is Harlis Miller, Harlis, Harlis. Which I've never heard as a name before.
I don't think it really exists.
Nope, Harlis Miller. He's 32 years old at the time. And he is a part-time landscaper and gardener who has done work around here for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's worked on this property, as a matter of fact, on at least 6 different occasions in October and November of 1962, and on the adjoining property on at least 4 occasions during the same period.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last 2 months, he's been around doing landscaping shit. Now, Harlis had never failed to report for work on a scheduled day ever, but on November 10th, he was supposed to work Monday. They told him Saturday you have to work Monday, but he didn't show up to work that day. Okay. The first time he's ever done that. Now, a little bit about Harlis. He is from Sarasota, Florida, but he lived in Norwalk, Connecticut, and like I said, didn't show up that morning for work. And when one of his employers telephoned his landlady to see where the fuck he was, she just said he was out. So he wasn't home. He wasn't sick. They also said that Harlis was, we find out he's the oldest of 7 children. He's born to, his mom's name is Mary Jones, and everybody calls her Aunt Mary. Mm-hmm. And everybody said that she is a very upstanding lady down there. Her first husband died right after her last child was born, which is convenient. Now you have 7 kids and fucking by yourself. Yeah. Her second husband was killed in a gun duel with a neighbor.
Wow.
Yeah. That is
the 50s?
In the wild, in like the 40s, I think.
Yeah.
That is fucking crazy. Through it all, though, Aunt Mary would raise her kids up she made a living by picking beans and selling hogs.
Ooh.
That is rough going, man.
Ooh.
The county never had trouble with Harlis at all, though. Mm-hmm. One guy here, though, said that that was down there, but the deputy police chief, Jack Royal of Sarasota, said that he used to work in a pool room down there, and meaning Harlis, and he said Harlis had a record of 3 arrests: gambling, carrying a deadly weapon, and rape.
They accelerated fast.
Yeah. The last charge was dismissed in 1960 on the grounds of insufficient evidence.
Oof.
Now, Harlis calls himself several aliases: Harris, Hollister, and Ulysses, as well as Harlis.
Yeah.
That's what he goes by. So it's very interesting. A little background on Harlis here. His mom, Aunt Mary, would never say anything bad about her, but Harlis was married before this to a woman named Jimmy Sue. Jimmy spelled like you. Jimmy Sue.
God damn it.
Jimmy Sue called Harlis a, quote, mean man, and accused him of carrying a gun everywhere.
Wow. Original Florida man.
He is. Jimmy Sue said Harlis was a turpentine worker when she married him in 1953.
Oh, my God.
So He's got excessive brain damage, probably, if he's been working around turpentine in the 50s. Probably just ate everything he's got. So
not just for the inhaling it, but is that
everything.
It doesn't matter. The absorption,
the chemicals.
Through the skin, it's crazy.
In the 50s, there wasn't like safety measures or anything like that.
Fuck you.
That. Yeah, OSHA, you kidding me?
Get out of here.
So during their marriage, the first year of their marriage, she said that this is amazing. She marries a turpentine worker, and things aren't all settled. During the first year they're married, honeymoon period, okay? Yeah. He tried to rape his aunt.
What?
He tried to rape his own aunt.
Ew, what the fuck, man?
I don't know, but his uncle shot at him and he ran away.
His uncle was not impressed.
Not having this shit. Hollister, whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. Boom.
At least there's one sane person in Florida.
Jesus Christ. And the sanest guy is the guy shooting at somebody. That's the craziest thing here.
Shooting at his nephew, raping his wife.
What the fuck, man? He tried to rape his aunt.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. So he ends up having a son with her, of course, because he's got to be fertile if he's this fucking stupid.
Wow.
And gross. So after that, before the son was born, Harless went off to Florida while his son Willie James was born, and he didn't return until the baby was 2 months old. He just left for 4 months when his wife was pregnant. Then Jimmy Sue said, he banged my head against the wall and he beat me up very often. Then, luckily for her, he finally abandoned her in 1957. She was like, whew, thank fuck.
Thank God he left.
Where she had to get a job as a cook at the local jail to support her son. Oh, and she described her son as, ain't got no temper like his pa.
I don't know. That's confusing.
His pa's got a temper and he ain't got it.
Okay, that's good. He's a calm kid.
He's a calm kid. He's not a jerk like his dad, which is terrific, I guess.
Yeah.
So when he was around Westport, he went 4 months without a job, and then he'd been a handyman for the last 2 months doing landscaping and shit like that, and that's when he's been hanging around this neighborhood. He drove, apparently, his boss that he worked for said, quote, Harless drove a relative of mine up from Florida about 6 months ago. He just sort of took a vacation until he started working with me 2 months ago. So he wasn't doing anything. Mm-hmm. He said that this boss said that the boss's brother Clyde have a cleaning business, and they hire guys all the time, and he seemed like a good guy. So here's this good guy. This is who Gail is trapped in a room with.
Hoo-wee.
Tried to rape his aunt.
Yeah.
That's where we're at right now. So I am not.
And is that the second rape, or is that the one that we?
Oh, he didn't get charged with that. Right. That was just family affair. I shot at him. He ran away. Everything's fine.
Oh boy.
That was an official, So who knows how many people, especially in the 50s, even less people reported rapes.
God damn it.
I mean, he might have been doing this everywhere.
Man.
He's a bad man. So got a temper like his pal. So Gail said he grabbed me and put a piece of cord around my neck and started choking me. Mm-hmm. I tried to pull the cord loose, and he forced me back into my bedroom, held me with the cord as he locked the door. Then he started choking me again. Holy shit. She said, I fought him as hard as I could, but he pushed me back onto my bed. Just then, my mother must have heard me struggling and choking, and she started pounding on the door and shouting my name. I guess then I must have fainted or passed out from being choked. So, wow. She gets her consciousness back here, comes to, and there's nobody there. She's alone in a room. So she goes downstairs and sees Harless on top of her mother on the floor with his hand around her neck, choking her mom. So she tries to help her mother. By the way, Harless is 6'3", 195 pounds. So he's my size, an inch shorter. So that's a pretty big guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's a 14-year-old trying to help with a physically imposing person here. But what ends up happening is he just sees that she's awake and then grabs them both and drags them both back to the mother's bedroom.
Oh, boy.
Where he chokes both of them and places a rope around Gail's neck. Okay. And so this is how Gail describes it. Apparently, he went to the door, unlocked it, and started choking my mother. When I came to, I ran out into the hallway, and the man was bending over my mother and was choking her with a cord. She'd been forced down to the floor and was fighting and screaming. The man then forced us into my mother's bedroom. This is fucking crazy. Then she said, my mother asked him if he wanted money, and he said he didn't want any money.
No.
She then asked, why are you doing this? And he said, quote, you wouldn't understand.
This is for fun.
Which I honestly think he's being honest. You wouldn't understand what a rapist and a monster guy feels like here. So then Gail said, why do you hate us? Like, you must hate us to do this to us. Why are you doing this? And he said, quote, I don't hate you. You wouldn't understand.
I hate me.
Yeah. So then he started choking her after that, after she said, why do you hate us? And he choked her unconscious again. Okay. So now she's been choked unconscious twice now, Gail. Yeah. When she regained consciousness, she was on the floor with her hands tied, hog-tied basically, hands and feet bound. And her mother was on the floor beside her with a rope around her neck, unconscious and breathing heavily. So he left her there. Yeah. So Gail said, I kept fainting and waking up. When I came to, he was choking my mother again, and I screamed, stop, stop. The man then ran over to Gail, Harless does, picks her up, drags her in her own bedroom.
Yeah.
He tied her hands and feet here again, because she was untied, and then whatever, the mom was tied. Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely. These people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked. God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News and World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
This show, Small Town Murder, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Get yourself some therapy, everybody. Honestly, here. We often hear about, red flags that you should avoid. Hey, that's a lot of a thing. It's become a real phrase now, real cliche. Yeah. But why don't you focus also, you look at green flags in friends and partners. Look for good things as well. Right. And maybe you're not sure what that looks like, though. Therapy can help you figure that out. What are positive things? What are the green flags? And then you can practice them in your relationship. It's absolutely a fact. And so, honestly, we absolutely are huge advocates for this. It really, really helps. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable. It's convenient. They serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, wide ranges of specialties there. Here's the coolest part. You're not getting along with your therapist, you're just not feeling it, you can switch at any time, no extra charge.
Wow.
The thing is, they want you to get help. That's it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/smalltownmurder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Then he went back to the mother's room, and she heard him pulling out drawers and dumping shit on the floor. She said, I called to my mother, but there was no answer. He comes back into her room. Well, he cut her bonds, first of all. She was bound, and then he cut them and brought her back into the room and then bound her again. Okay? Then left the room, returned, and untied her again. He's untied her and tied her up 5 times already.
What is that about?
He orders her to change into a different nightgown.
Yeah.
Put on a different nightgown, get your fucking robe and your slippers. Okay. Then he tied her up again. Then he covers her up with a quilt, makes a big Santa sack with her, basically.
Oh, okay.
Gets a big quilt, covers her all up with that, and carries her downstairs, He then takes her outside, puts her on the floor of the back seat of his car, and drives away with her.
Oh, my God.
He just took her. Okay? So Gail said her words were, when the man returns, he wrapped me in a blanket after warning me to keep quiet and took me downstairs and outside where he put me in the back in the back of his car on the floor. Gone. Okay? Gone. By 9:15, out of there.
Makes you feel like she was the reason he came there.
It's kind of the opposite, actually, we find out. But yeah, it's weird. 6:30 p.m., Pierre gets home from work. He gets home. He found his house dark.
Yeah.
What the fuck? The living room's in complete disarray. Right. The bedroom's a mess. What's going on? No, he can't find anybody.
Yeah.
No one in the bedroom. No one in the living room. No one in any of the bedrooms. He then says he has to go to the bathroom, opens up the bathroom door, and finds his wife, Isabel, in her nightgown, dead as can be, sitting on the toilet with her head resting against the wall.
What is that?
He fucking posed her on the toilet.
That's wild.
With her head resting against the wall. She'd been dead for hours already. So he, Jesus Christ, ran out, called 911, or at the time just called the local police or did whatever he could here. It turns out she died from asphyxiation due to strangulation caused by a rope or a clothesline around her neck. Right. Marks encircled her neck, could have been made by clotheslines, like the ones used to bind them both here. Wow. So this is fucking crazy. So clotheslines are a big thing. All of this tying up is done with clotheslines, by the way. So let's get into the hell car here.
Okay.
He just drove around for hours.
What?
Drove around the countryside for hours.
What is that about?
Just driving around. Once he stopped and lit a cigarette, and Gail asked, "What are you going to do now?" And he said, "Haven't made my mind up yet." And then drove off again. At one point, he stops, gets her out of the car, puts her in the trunk, and drives away.
Very indecisive man.
He has no idea how. No. If he wants you tied up, if he wants you in the car in the trunk, he has no clue. Gail said, "We drove around for a long time. Then he stopped in a lonely place and put me in the trunk of the car. My hands were tied behind my back." This is terrifying. Then they drove around again for a long time. She said just felt driving in turns and all the normal driving things. Then they stop at a restaurant, a bar restaurant. Sure. And she said, he opened up the trunk and asked me if I wanted a chicken sandwich.
You want a chicken sandwich?
Not particularly, no.
It's the best one in town.
Not really. She said, I shook my head and told him I wanted to go home. Take me home. I don't want a chicken fucking sandwich. You're strangling me all the time here. This is crazy. So that's fucking wild. Okay. He then he says he's going to get a sandwich. He takes her out of the trunk, places her in the back seat, ties her hands behind her back and to the rear door handle of the car. Yeah. He then left to go get the sandwich. He returned shortly, telling her that the sandwich wouldn't be ready for like a half hour. And at that point, he untied her and took off her nightgown and what she said, quote, did something to her.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he rapes this young girl, which is fucking horrible in this car, which is a nightmare, obviously. And, he then placed her on the floor with her hands tied behind her back and used another rope to tie her to the door handle again. Then, I guess, he went in to get the sandwich, came out, got the sandwich, and he, offered her some. She didn't want any. Right. She said afterwards, meaning after he attacked her, I pleaded with him for a drink of water, and he left me. Okay. He left her. Oh my God. She said, quote, I struggled with the ropes as hard as I could and managed to. She ripped her fucking skin off to get the ropes off her hands, chew your arm off to make an escape, basically. Pulls it off, then tries to untie the one in the handle, but she's still tied up and she only has one hand. She said, I quote, I then pushed the handle with my head and fell out face first.
Wow.
She stripped her fucking hands apart, struggling, and opened a door with her head.
Yeah.
Those are those big,
those
big handle. I mean, this is a survival. Like this is like the guy driving the snowmobile while he's bleeding and shot and all that. This is crazy. And this is a 14-year-old.
It's a big chrome handle that you got to beat the shit out of it
with your head.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
This is fucking crazy. So now she's still tied up. Her hands are tied behind her. She's sobbing. Her clothes are soaked in blood.
Yeah.
She's sobbing. She just takes off and fucking runs as fast as she can. Hands tied behind her back in a bloody nightgown, screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
She goes to the nearest house she finds and just kicks the door till somebody opens it.
Good girl.
It was about 6 p.m. And so she'd been a prisoner for, this is going on 13 hours here. Right. Not 13, but yeah, about 13 almost. So, or no, a little less than that. So
it's like 10 hours.
Yeah. So this is Mary Burgo is the woman in the house. And she found, this is in Norwalk, she found Gail on her front porch bleeding and tied up and said, holy shit, child, come inside. So she tells her the story. Gail tells her what just happened to her. And this lady, Mary Burgo, calls the police. Then she called her home. She called the Pierre and Isabel's house, Gail's home, to let her know that she's alive.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then she's transported to the hospital after that. They take her to the hospital. This is crazy. Now, before all of this, before they take her to the hospital, the cops advise that she be kept under heavy guard until the murderer and kidnapper is caught because, quote, I'm sure he would try to kill her if he got the chance because she can identify him. Uh-huh. Absolutely. So where the fuck is Harless now besides shitting his pants?
Yeah.
You'd imagine driving
that.
as fast as he could towards some other jurisdiction would be what he's doing.
Towards Canada or Mexico.
Well, we'll find out here. Number one, a bartender and two patrons of the Calypso Tavern, that's where the chicken sandwich was purchased, remembered that a man fitting the description given by Gail bought a chicken sandwich at about 6 o'clock. The bartender noticed him particularly because his customers usually didn't order food at that hour. Really? When the fuck are they eating? It's 6 o'clock.
That's the time, isn't it?
They eat at 10 o'clock? They eat at 3 o'clock? I have no idea.
They usually drink their dinner, and then chicken sandwiches are ordered around 9 p.m.
People eat late? I don't know. The bartender noticed this Harless particularly because his customers usually didn't order food, and he observed the man's left ear was lower than his right ear, and it stuck out in his mouth. I don't know. Stuck out to him.
He must be real slanted for this guy to notice.
No shit, man. Oh, like really off to notice that. It's got to be like at least like a 2-inch difference, right?
Is that a bad haircut or are you real misshapen, son?
Real fucked up. Jesus Christ. Oh man. So an inspector for the Norwalk Police talked with Herman and Clyde Whitmore, who owned the landscaping and housekeeping firm that he worked for, and I guess they're retained by many, many well-to-do families in the area, and all this shit. And they said confirmed that yes, their crew had worked at the salon house 2 weeks before, and one of their temporary employees does fit the description of the fugitive. And he said, only you should also say he has heavy lines under his eyes. Okay. You should also say that.
And a diagonal head
and a fucked up, a lopsided head.
It's in italics.
So this is his landlady, Mrs. Elizabeth Richard, told police that Harlan might be the man you're seeking. She said, only you should say he has a heart-shaped face and a narrow chin. It's getting better.
He is a hideous
narrow chin and a fucked up ear thing. You talk to 3 more people, he's going to have a horn. This is crazy.
An italics heart head.
Man. And she added, he and his wife, Lucille, were nice, quiet people.
He's got a wife.
And they said, were? What do you mean were? And she said, oh, they left here last night about 9:30 without saying goodbye. Huh. She said, I wasn't surprised, though, because he went off yesterday morning and told Lucille, when I come back, be ready because we're going away.
Okay.
He planned this. He said, I'm going to go out and do some raping and pillaging. You get your shit together because then we're going to fucking flee.
Yeah.
But instead, what he did was he went to sleep that night. They slept there that night, left in the morning. He was tired,
Really?
all tuckered out from his adventures here.
It's a big day, yeah.
Big day. They asked what kind of person he was, and the landlord said Harless was a pleasant sort. He'd just come here after a day of working, sit and watch TV. He offered pleasant company to me, him and his wife. One of those where they probably rented a room and they all had to watch TV together in the living room. So, yeah, he went home, went to bed. After that, him and his common-law wife took off, heading south. Okay. That's that. Investigators couldn't say whether the motive for the crime was robbery, kidnapping, rape. Who knows? All three? We don't know. They expected to find the house empty, or, they said they thought maybe he expected to find the house empty or was surprised when it wasn't just the wife. Because if he watches every day, husband leaves at this time, kid leaves at that time, wife's in the house by herself. Yeah. But it's Veterans Day, but he's not off today, so he probably didn't realize that the kids had off from school that day.
Oh, shit. So she surprised him.
They're thinking that she surprised him. He's like, oh, shit, fuck.
There's a child, yeah.
There's two people. What do we do here? But he decided, well, that's the one I want to fucking kidnap and just fucking attack and destroy forever. So his boss is surprised at all this. I would hope so. Like, that's what I expected from him, but I hired him anyway to go into people's private residences. I thought that was good.
I mean, his head, I should have known.
It's all lopsided and stuff.
I can't believe they sent that guy to the nice neighborhood.
Still a landscaper. Still
He's bringing down the property value.
His employer voiced astonishment, saying, a good worker, a fellow who didn't ask questions. Is that a good worker? Just doesn't ask questions?
Just does what he's told, yeah.
He wasn't one to talk much, but he gave me a good day's work. Somehow, though, I just figured he didn't care much about anything. He never objected to anything, and he never favored anything either. He just, whatever. He was just like, all right. He's like Richardson from Deadwood. So he also says, I wonder what made him do it. I guess he wonders now himself what made him do it. Probably not, because he's a rapist, I think. That's what he does.
You wouldn't understand, man.
You wouldn't. Like he said, you wouldn't understand. I don't understand. You don't understand.
I don't get it either, man.
And if you're listening and you understand, I'm worried about you.
Yeah. Arrest yourself.
Arrest yourself. Holy shit. By the way, this neighborhood, it was like a bomb fucking hit it.
I can't imagine.
Went bonkers. Yeah. All of a sudden, not only are doors locked, extra locks, fucking double pane locked window. I mean, it is
big
now
dogs.
Everybody is a big, all of it, guns, everything else. They're waiting because he hasn't been caught. They think he's stalking all their neighborhood here. Now at the hospital, it's Monday night when Gail comes in. She sleeps through most of Tuesday. They probably gave her a sedative and said, fucking calm down. Her father was persuaded to stay away from her. Okay, if you're this 14-year-old girl who's just been fucking attacked and raped and all, you need your people. Yeah. I think seeing your father would make you feel
safe.
That's some security. Yeah, no one's going to fucking come get me now. Like, there'd be some feeling of grounding and security. Instead, they convince him that it's better that he stays away because she will be able to see on his face his sadness, and she'll know her mother's dead, and that's not good for her recovery right now, they said.
Maybe he just is sad that his daughter's hurt, and we're not going to talk about mom right now. We're worried about you.
They said, let's give her a couple days.
Wow.
So her brothers were notified. Her one brother was rushing home from college, and they even let Paul fly home from Germany where he was stationed in the Army. Your mother's dead, your sister's raped. I think you can come home. Yeah. That gets you some R&R, right?
Right.
I would hope. So now by Wednesday, now the newspapers all have the story in it, and she yelled at everybody and said, "Is my mother dead?" And the father broke into sobs and said, "Yes, she's dead." She didn't even know her mother was dead until Wednesday. This poor girl. Holy shit. Police talked to the press. A police officer told reporters that, quote, "She is a very brave girl. No one could have gone through a more terrible experience, but she's feeling much better today. And eventually she will have to know about her mother." Yeah. And then she was. Yeah, then they found her because she read that quote probably. You know what I mean? Fucking newspaper. So the State Motor Vehicle Bureau provided the information that Connecticut plates 574252 had been issued for a turquoise and cream 56 Mercury hardtop sedan owned by Harless Miller. That's a dope
cool
car.
Yeah.
Pretty dope car.
Good color, too. Shit.
Yeah, not bad at all. He's described as 31, 6'3", 195, with obviously narrow chin, heart-shaped face, and uneven ears.
Metallica.
So, yeah, they're thinking, is he headed to Sarasota, maybe?
Right.
Where he was. They talked to the sheriff down there, and he says, quote, I don't think he's headed here.
Why?
Okay.
Can you give us any reason?
He said, quote, he's too well known and he knows it. Why not try Valdosta, Georgia? That's where he comes from.
Okay.
Sure, but, don't bother me. I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
So the Valdosta police reported that Miller hasn't lived there since he and his wife and son, 10 at the time, his old wife, moved to Soperton, Georgia, which is where he was born. And he says, by the way, his wife's name is Jimmy Sue, not Lucille. That's because Lucille's his new wife. Jimmy Sue was his wife down there.
This idiot has no idea.
Nope.
He's caught up with him.
He said, Lucille must be a girlfriend. Nope, it's his wife. So that is fucking amazing. The county sheriff down there where Soperton is said that Miller was not in Soperton, but he'll keep an eye out for him just in case.
Yeah.
So Friday, Gail is still in the hospital. This is the day that mom's going to be buried. Isabel is buried this day. And since they did not know where the kidnapper was still, the police captain asked that Gail be kept in the hospital and miss her mother's funeral so she can be protected in the hospital.
Oh, boy.
Because they haven't caught this man yet. So they're using a hospital as she's like a hostage in there.
I doubt a kidnapper is going to show up to the funeral to kidnap or kill the little girl.
While she's holding hands with her father.
It's a lot of witnesses.
Yeah, and she's a murder victim, so I bet there'll be cops there. Yeah. I don't think they're going to pop up and take her, probably, I would say. I mean, it'd probably be a lot cheaper for everyone just to have a cop hang out in front of their house. Right. That would be the cheapest and easiest way to do this, and probably the most effective, too.
Right.
November 16th, 1962. This is about the same time that Isabel is being put into her grave in Terrytown, which is a beautiful place. God. 900 miles away, there's some drama here. Here we go. Word reached the sheriff that a turquoise and white Mercury with Connecticut license plates was parked at Aunt Mary's house, his fucking mother's house.
Really?
Yes, which is off the road a bit on the outskirts of Soperton. When with an agent for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and 3 FBI men, they drove down. This area is called the Bottoms, by the way.
Jesus.
Yeah, not great. They drove down and saw the Mercury in the yard and a young woman leaning against it. She was looking at a pickup truck also parked in the yard. Aunt Mary sat there on her back porch. So they said, the sheriff said, is Harless here?
Yeah.
Aunt Mary didn't answer because she thought the sheriffs were there to arrest her son for non-support of his wife and child because he abandoned them.
Yeah.
He's a deadbeat. So she just sits there silent, and the cop notices movement beneath a bag in the back of the truck.
Oh.
He ran over, pulled up the burlap, and yelled, come out of there. And Harless stood up, and there he was.
What the fuck? He
in all his glory.
Jumped in the back of a truck and hid?
Yep. He submitted to arrest without resistance. Yeah. And this is fucked up, too. We don't know. Okay. First, it was described as 2 men in the car.
Yeah.
Then it was him and Lucille, but now when they're here, they're calling her Rosalie Millage.
What?
The woman he's with, who's 23. But I don't know if that's what Lucille goes by, if that's her middle name, or I don't know what the fuck it is. But from what I know, she is with him because I've seen a picture of the 2 of them in the sheriff's office together. So she was there. They're like, this is him and his wife, Lucille. So he didn't put up a fight. And they were both, him and his wife, were taken in to the Soperton police station before he was told why he was under arrest. Okay. He said, quote, I never knew any family named Salon up there. All I knew up there was my bosses I worked for. And he said that he had, that you guys have hunted down the wrong guy. I didn't do this, and I'm not fleeing from anything. I'm just coming to see my wife.
Sir, your
head, bro.
So easy to draw. She got you.
Yeah. Fuck. They said, you were coming down here anyway. It's just a coincidence that you left the day after a murder. He said, well, I knew it would get cold up there and my landscaping job would play out. Okay. That's what it was. I knew about, it was going to be cold. He said, so I was heading back to Florida and I stopped to see my mother. Okay. And the woman said she knew nothing about the crime. She was just returning to Florida with Harless to escape the winter. That's all. Right. Okay. And they said, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. So they said, okay, why'd you shave off your mustache? Oh. Why can't you explain who owns the red bathrobe belt found in your trunk?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, along with clothing that belongs to them, blankets from their house, and a narrow-brimmed hat, exactly the type described by Gail.
Why would he keep that?
Yeah, why you have all that, sir? Oh, and they're going to find tons of clothesline all over the place and everything else. Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about a healthy, delicious item, Hero Bread. And we're both trying to get healthier this new year. Jimmy had a eye-opening doctor's appointment and things like that. Yeah. So we're trying to get healthier, and I'm telling you right now, this Hero Bread is a good step in this direction. It's delicious, and it is really good for you, and it's really excellent. They have the sliced bread is good, the bagels, the tortillas. I know you've been
they're terrific.
Ranting about the tortillas. They're so good. With Hero Bread, you can focus on your health goals and still indulge in the soft, fluffy experience you love, but guilt-free. I really love the little Hawaiian rolls, too.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so good. The Hawaiian rolls, they're legit. They're fluffy. Yeah. They're exactly how you want them to be. You'd never know it's low-carb and high-fiber bread from the texture. You get the soft, fluffy experience you know and love with your savory breakfast sandwich, late-night grilled cheese, Taco Tuesday. Do it. Yeah. No compromises, just flavor, ultra-low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, high in fiber. It's fantastic. Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use the code SmallTownMurder at checkout. That's SmallTownMurder at HERO.co.
And now back to the show.
Hey, everybody. Just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about Sono Bello. You know, the most known secret with celebrities and influencers and all these famous people is so many of them have had lipo. They've had lipo, whether it's a little touch-up here or a total makeover. Yeah. Nobody has a perfect body. That's the thing. No. They may look like it on TV, but there's things that help that. Absolutely. Lipo now has changed, and Sono Bello's been at the forefront with using LAL technology and getting those beautiful and natural outcomes for each person. Looking real natural. Our friends at Sono Bello are offering their best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event, but appointments are limited, so please get on this. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro-laser fat removal, a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently. Wherever your problem areas are, tummy, love handles, thighs, arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that, but if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sono Bello. Save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/smalltownmurder. That's sonobello.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about our stylish friends at Quince. That's right. Let's go elevate your styles, people. Yeah. Get it going, look good out there, and you can do it now without breaking your wallet, without breaking the bank, because at Quince, you can get high-end, versatile pieces at prices we can all actually afford, which is very nice. You want to get good stuff that lasts and it's good, and they have quality stuff that's very affordable, and you can do like we did, upgrading our stuff here, while still being a very reasonable price. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. It's all quality stuff. You're going to love it. Trust us, it looks good. And I've got the leather jacket. It's a very high-quality item. Real nice, soft leather. Yeah. Jimmy's got his linen pants he's rocking.
Yeah, they're terrific.
Come on, be like us. Be fashionable. Get in there with Quince. Indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/smalltownmurder for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/smalltownmurder to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
So agents of the FBI joined the investigation here. Obviously, they went up to do this, and they charge Lucille and Harris with unlawful flight to escape prosecution, and then they'll put everything else on later. By the way, the Mercury that he was driving went through 8 states undetected on the way back. He got pulled over 3 times on the way from Florida up to his mom's house.
Oh, wow.
Going north, he got pulled over 3 different fucking times, but not at all on the way down.
Asshole.
He must have thought he got away with it, didn't care. And they didn't have like a, nationwide plate system. Yeah. So, yeah. Then he says some incriminating shit when they get him in the police station. Well, this is fucking crazy. They get him in the Westport police headquarters here, and we'll talk about this is before they get him to Georgia, or to the headquarters in Westport, but he's in Georgia at this point, and he's quoted as saying, quote, "If everybody says I did it, then I must have."
Must have. And that he said he was, quote, "sorry for what he'd done to that woman." Not good. Both of them. No. Not fucking good. So they take him back to Connecticut. Yeah. They're arraigned in Georgia before the U.S. Commissioner Martha Daniel. Then they were held in custody without bail in Augusta, and they waived extradition and were driven back to Connecticut by the Fairfield County District Attorney, his investigator. And the 2 men spelled each other driving on the 875-mile trip. They made it in 17 and a half hours. Wow,
good time right there. So they arrive in Connecticut at 5:34 a.m. Now, while he's in jail, a Connecticut County detective and a Westport police sergeant went to Georgia, this is before they took him back up, and examined his car without getting a search warrant.
What?
Just went down there to pick through it. Then the car is brought back to Connecticut. They do a full take-apart examination again. No fucking warrant. They get no search warrant for this shit at all. They just said, what the fuck, we can do that. The upholstery, by the way, teeming with blood and hair from Gail. Yeah. Just all over the place. I mean, physical evidence is a big deal here.
Lucille's a dummy.
Fucking unbelievable. Certain objects taken from the car were submitted to the state laboratory in Hartford for examination. No search warrant again. It's a lot, man, with this no search warrant, including they found human hair identified as Gail's on the crank handle of the rear window and on the rear seat and floor, completely corroborating everything. They found blood stains on the cover of the rear seat, the blood being the same type as Gail's, which is as close as you could get back then. They do a lineup. They bring him back, and Gail is asked to identify him, and she does in the lineup, obviously. She was brought to headquarters and picked him out of a lineup of 6 men. Now, the officer later said the girl was given instructions by him, viewed the lineup without pointing to anyone in it, then left the room and talked with the officer, after which time she returned to the lineup and pointed him out. So at this point, he is a lawyer because he's been arrested, and his lawyer is saying the identification wasn't made on the first viewing, only on the second viewing, and the officer probably told her who to pick. Yeah. Now, my thing is she's 14, and back then, everybody in 1962, everyone on Earth hadn't seen a million police procedurals where they would show lineups and stuff. Yeah. She might have asked, can they see me?
Right.
She might have asked, is this safe? She might have asked, can he hear me? She might have asked anything on fucking Earth. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing here. But the court, he's going to go to trial. The prosecution here says my client wasn't there and didn't kill, but if he was there, he didn't mean to commit the murder. He wasn't there and didn't do it, but if he did, he was an accident. So either way, take it as one of those.
That's our defense.
Wow. He said, this is the prosecution. That's wild, man. The prosecution said, by Gail's story, I say Harless Miller was there and murdered Mrs. Salon. And they said that he was acquainted with the layout of the home because he's been in there before. Yeah. And the defense says he contends he was in a bar part of the day of the murder, but the state introduced testimony that he wasn't there. As a matter of fact, he was there at the exact time she said he was, getting the exact type of food that she said he did. Yeah. So charging that Harless went to the Salon home with a rope, the prosecutor claimed that if he was as startled as the defense claims, the assailant may have been,
Why didn't he kill Mrs. Salon downstairs, where Gail testified she saw him attempting to strangle her? There was no frantic situation. He had time to premeditate.
Right.
Yeah, he was deciding what he was going to do. They said if the law requires that the eyewitnesses were needed at the exact moment of expiration, how few cases would we be able to prove? Yeah, someone had to watch you murdering a person. Yeah. They said there's no question of Gail's identification. She was with Miller for about 12 hours under all sorts of circumstances. She knows him.
Yeah.
She'll pick his ass out. They also talk about the rope. There's evidence which attempted to connect him with the murder. They said a piece of rope which had been tied to her wrists was introduced, but the home she ran to, that the girl fled to afterwards, she testified she thought the piece was heavier than the one that was shown in court. The woman from not the Gail who was tied up, the woman whose house she went to said, I thought the rope was different.
Okay. Which
is very weird. Yet a police officer examining a piece of rope in court said he was able to identify it because of two knots tied in the two ends. So they said, yeah, this connects to that. So another piece was introduced, found on the ground in the rear of his home, of Harless's house, by Westport police a few days after many newsmen and other spectators had visited the premises and failed to turn up the rope. So they're saying that could have been planted by anybody.
Sure.
But nobody knew at that point that it was a rope with certain knots. So, yeah. They said the type A blood found on the seat covers of the car, which matched Gail's blood, quote, could be anybody's blood.
Right.
And also, he has a common physical appearance. Yeah, a lot of people look like him. Really.
I've never seen anybody that looks like him, and I've only heard his description.
That's what I mean. And at the fact that back then, 6'3" was extremely tall.
Right. Yeah.
Right now, in the United States, 6'4" and over is 1% of the population.
Wow.
What do you think it was back then to be 6'3", 6'4"?
Right.
That was considered a giant back then.
Right.
So that's crazy. So Gail...
S-face.
Yeah. You should, there's a lot of things to pick out. The ear, the weird...
Yeah.
The fucking heart face. So Gail testifies. She has to. And apparently they try to get a mistrial because she's describing what took place in the automobile and all of that kind of thing, and accusing him of committing heinous acts. So they're like, mistrial, this is ridiculous. Yeah. They said, we have no facts before us on the record concerning this incident during the trial, except the bare statement and the finding that the defendant moved for a mistrial based on the witness's mischaracterization of this offense. They're like, she's a liar, that one. And they try to get a mistrial. Then Harless himself is testified. He has to testify, too. He takes the witness stand. He's got to do some acting here. He described his position in the two lineups in which Gail viewed him and testified to what he wore for each lineup. He said he could see the legs and bottom of the coat of the, quote, lady or woman who wore or viewed the lineup and could hear her voice despite the bright lights which were shining on him. Yeah, it's because lights don't make sound different. That's why, generally.
They can make it louder if you got a headache, but that's it.
That's about it, yeah. Hey, did you have a migraine at the time?
Yeah,
no?
Right.
Asked whether his name was on the sweatshirt he wore for one of the lineups, he said the word Miller was up his shirt for one of the lineup appearances.
Uh-huh.
So that's interesting. Yeah, that wouldn't be great. But she's standing there right there going, that guy did this.
Right. Doesn't matter.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. The defense, in closing, recounted the events, and they said Miller came up here. He gave you his best effort to recount the events. Mm-hmm. He said that his client was upset because of the argument he had with his wife the night before, and he said no one can recall what he did. No one can recall what he did every minute of every given day, which is true. Right. That's true enough. Wow, they call her Lucille Harris and Rosalie Millage interchangeably, his wife, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't get it. So the lawyer says, you must examine every detail because a man's life is at stake. Said his summation required more than 20 minutes, and the defense was very dramatic. He said, in this case, many questions have arisen as to who, how, and when. The state has attempted to prove by one witness all these elements. Yeah, one witness who you held hostage for hours.
Right.
Wow. He said it was difficult to even cross-examine Gail. It was difficult to ask her questions about the thing that happened to her mother. The question is whether Gail told the whole story, he says, alluding to several times during her testimony when she didn't remember something or didn't know. You know, because it was the most traumatic thing that's happened to a
14.
fucking 8th grader. Yeah.
Right.
The state had failed to prove premeditation, he said also. He said the excitement described in the home that day was a continuing thing. There was no time to reflect. None.
Okay.
Yeah. Pointing out there were 2 telephones that were not used in the home, the public defender said this fact proves that this was an excitable period of time. They didn't even call the cops because they were getting strangled intermittently.
What a fucking wild thing to say.
Then he says this, and this I would assume, if you said this now, a jury would come out of the box and fucking beat you with hammers. It's dangerous to rely on one witness, especially a 14-year-old impressionable girl in a first-degree murder case.
You can't believe.
Can't depend on a rape victim.
She doesn't know.
She's 14. How does she know who raped her? That's ridiculous. He said that this case would require intensive deliberation on the part of the jury, which he said must decide the life or liberty of Harless Miller. He also said that they must prove homicide, an unlawful killing done by another, and that the accused committed the acts resulting in the death, and that those acts were committed with the specific intention of causing death. Can't have an accident here.
Okay.
So the jury is 8 men, 4 women, which I'm shocked there's 4 women on the jury back then. A lot of these back then. Remember, we just did the case.
In the 60s. They don't have any rights.
No, on the one we were talking about on the Patreon, the lady from right around this time.
Yeah.
It was the same kind of shit. So, and she got acquitted by an all-male jury, and it was like 1963. So, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence and shit like that. They find him guilty of first-degree murder and rape. Yeah, you really have to here. But they did also recommend mercy as well.
Really?
They recommended mercy, which means they did not want him executed. They said they also recommended life in prison without the benefit of parole. Okay. Don't kill him, just hang on to him forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
Now, after the trial, by the way, his wife, Lucille Rosalie, is released from custody.
She
had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, she didn't know. She's just real dumb.
Yeah, I think he found an idiot to do what he wants with, and probably. So she went back to Georgia. Now, Pierre Salon took Gail on a long trip to Europe and then moved with her from the horrible house here in Connecticut to a nice apartment in Manhattan. He probably moved to fucking Central Park, and it was, wow, awesome.
Wow.
That's good. So, by the way, there's a new bill introduced right around this time.
Oh?
The headline, Slaying Leads to Plea for Bill, basically saying that there should be, like, a salesman has to register because he's knocking door to door and doing all this type of shit.
Okay.
Back then he had to register. I don't think you have to do that now. But they said this should apply to domestic staff and landscapers as well.
Really?
Yeah, they said the applicant would know he was on file and would have to be without a police record to begin with, for all applications would be sent to the FBI in Washington headquarters. So they said, State Rep John Shostak was informed at his home about the proposal, and he said he was in favor. He said, I shall definitely propose such a bill to the state legislature. I had discussed this very subject with a friend last night, and I think it's needed and needed right now. A photo, fingerprints, and description of all house cleaners should be on record in local police offices. Jesus Christ.
How about not trusting your help?
No shit. That's interesting. The state legislature convenes. This guy's the former mayor, and he indicated he would first have to consult with persons knowledgeable in bonding and registration to prepare an accurate proposal. Yeah, you need people that know how to write a law. Yeah. So 1965.
Here we go.
Here's the appeal. The appeal is based on no warrant for his car search.
Yeah.
The Connecticut Supreme Court of Errors, which is a real thing back then. The Supreme Court of Errors, which sounds like they just fuck everything up all the time. They're looking for errors. They said the crime, said Judge John M. Comley, speaking for a unanimous bench, was, quote, particularly revolting and atrocious. Mm-hmm. Yet the conviction of him for this, they said that the judge said not every search without a warrant is illegal. For example, a search which is an incident to a lawful arrest is proper, meaning you pull him out of the car, there's something sitting right there.
Yeah.
But the search of Miller's car was remote from the arrest in both time and space. They searched it when he was in Connecticut 2 weeks later, and then brought it to Connecticut and did it again. The U.S. citizen's immunity from such a legal search is a cornerstone of the Constitution, and the court is guarding against any erosion of that immunity, and also that he wanted a new lawyer as well. He said his lawyer didn't call the exact people he wanted to call, so he's a shit lawyer. Meanwhile, he's been in the bar since 1946. He's processed 800 cases, done 40 jury trials.
He's done very well. Yeah.
Prosecuted 5 appeals to the Supreme Court, securing reversals on 3 of them. So, I mean, he's fine. The lawyer's fine. But the court overturns the verdict.
Really?
Yep, overturned because they searched his car without a warrant, and a lot of that evidence was used against him, and you can't do that. And that may have swayed the jury beyond just the eyewitness testimony.
Crazy.
So that's pretty fucked up. Now, that doesn't mean he goes free.
No, he's just going to try again.
Just try again. So there's a retrial. This time, no car evidence at all.
Okay.
Ugats on the car evidence here. So he was convicted again.
Yeah.
And
you got plenty with everything else. You got an eyewitness, for Christ's sake.
Awful lot going on here. Convicted again and sentenced to, you, sir, may fuck off, life in prison again.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, and then there's a new law after that, though. Okay. Several months passed, and the Connecticut General Assembly passed a Public Act 573, a law abolishing natural life sentences, meaning life without parole.
Okay, so you got to get parole.
Yes, it went into effect October 1st. Now, Miller and 3 other inmates in the state, there's only 4 people in the whole state on that, hope to prove that the law is retroactive, and if they succeed, they'll be eligible for parole in 20 years. Mm-hmm. Now, what happened to Gail?
What happened?
Gail ended up attending the New York School of Interior Design and working many years at Vital Enterprises in Vista, New York as an interior designer.
Wow.
And then in 2013, at 64, she died.
Damn it.
So, poor Gail. Gail's dead. 50 years later. But yeah, she had a better 50 years than there. The house, by the way, 31 Stony Brook in Westport, is worth $4,651,000 right now, which is crazy on Zillow. I tried to find what the fate of Harless was.
Yeah.
I know for a fact he was in prison in the 80s because there was a video of him talking that I could only get a screenshot off of, and the video wouldn't come up. I kept getting an error and it wouldn't work. So, but he was in the 80s. He was still in prison, and I don't know if he ever got paroled. If he's dead, I tried to find his grave. I tried to find everything. I assume he's dead because he was born in like 1930. So unless he's 95,
today.
He's fucking dead because he was 31 in 1962. So he's got to be dead, but I don't know if he died in prison or if he ever got out again, and I hope not because he's a dangerous son of a bitch here.
That's a rapist forever.
That is a rapist forever right there. So there you go, everyone. That's Westport, Connecticut.
Wow.
And you can see why like I said, normally not such an old episode. Literally, the last Connecticut episode was about a Fitbit solved the crime. Right. So, I mean, normally we stay pretty modern, but this case, just that narrative of this poor fucking girl fighting for her life and surviving. I know it's horrible that there's murder and there's rape and all that, but it's also kind of like she survived.
Yeah. It's
like
very similar to the Cheshire murders.
A little bit.
But like this guy had a plan to get away. Like he super planned it out. Those two were just willy-nilly sick fucks. This guy was going to try to get away.
He knew when he left the house that morning that he was going to do this. He told his wife, be ready to fucking take off.
Right,
so
be ready to go.
He was going to do some shit. So there you go. Holy fuck, that's a crazy case. It's like I couldn't not do it. I had other cases. I'm like, it's so crazy, man.
Veterans Day fucked him.
Then Veterans Day fucked him. And I got to give just Gail as a fucking survivor. She's a fighter.
Yeah.
And then she went on to have a nice life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Good for her. It helps to be rich, but still, good for her. You know what I mean? So there you go, everybody. There is Westport, Connecticut. If you like the show or anything about the show, please get on whatever app you're listening on and give us 5 stars and say something nice. Yeah. Really helps drive us up the charts, and it is a free, quick, easy way to help the show if you'd like to do that. Other ways to help the show, you can go to a live show. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Get your tickets now because half the shows are sold out already. Shows months and months away are sold out, so get your tickets right now. Chicago, St. Louis, those are the next ones up in early May, and St. Louis is, I think it's sold out now. Maybe just our comps that need to be released, but it's just about sold out, and Chicago is pushing it. Chicago, always a huge crowd there, so
great.
You definitely want your tickets for there. Get them now and do that at shutupandgivememurder.com is where you get all of those and everything else, merch and all that kind of shit there. You should also follow on social media at Shut Up and what is it? At Small Town Murder.
That's Small Town Murder. Yeah,
Small Town Murder on Instagram. I'm sorry, I am under the weather today. That just came out.
Yeah.
That is not good. That is it's Small Town Murder on Instagram and at Small Town Pod on Facebook. Patreon.com/CrimeInSports is where you get all of the bonus materials. Tons of it. Anybody $5 a month or above. Immediately you get hundreds of episodes of bonus shit you've never heard. New ones every other week. One Crime in Sports, one Small Town Murder, and you get it all. This week for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about disasters of all types. Industrial disasters, hot air balloons bursting into flames, all sorts of weird, crazy shit. Yeah. We'll talk all about it. Then for Small Town Murder, we are going to talk about psychics when they actually get shit right.
Yeah.
Because we debunk psychic stuff all the time. We're always like, oh, that one's full of shit and this one's full of shit. Whether they're full of shit or not, a few times it actually worked. So
sometimes
maybe
they're right.
Maybe it's a lucky broken clock right twice a day, or maybe they're psychic. We'll fucking find out and talk about it. Patreon.com/CrimeInSports. And you get a shout out at the end of the regular show because, goddamn it, we appreciate it and we want to tell you that, what you're doing for us. So thank you very much for joining us. You want to follow us on social media, shutupandgivememurder.com, drop down menu, head over there, follow us, hang out with us. Keep coming back each week because you can't get rid of us.
Right.
And until next week, it's been our pleasure.
Bye.
If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus